Hello YouTube, Velvet Blue Productions here, and I'd like to tell you about my first ever game project. It's called Diamond Dungeon. The genre of the game is a mix between maze and adventure, sort of inspired by The Legend of Zelda. It was created using the GameMaker engine. The mechanics of the enemies are essentially made by collisions to objects. As you can see, what I've essentially done with them is essentially for the golem, I've essentially allowed it to only move in vertical motion. Essentially allowed it to bounce from wall to wall, moving up and down. While for the shock spark, I actually only have it to move left and right. And I've actually allowed them to be killed by arrows, which are shot by the player. Speaking about the player, the character mechanic. I've already told you about the arrows, but they are actually shot using the spacebar. As you can see, I've actually accounted for all 4 directions that the game allows me to use as sort of a way to shoot the arrows and get a few headshots in. The way of movement, we actually use the controls of up, down, left, and right on our keyboards. Usually, when it's mapped differently, we use up, A as W, and D. But for this one, we just keep it simple and use up, down, left, and right. And we actually have the enemies to actually hurt the characters. The wizard is a very good mention of it. It shoots fireballs. In fact, when it's shooting fireballs, after the timer goes off each time, it shoots a fireball. But the fireball would not be able to move if it actually had nothing to make it move. So, as you can see, we have the fireball to move towards the player. As for mechanism of the portals, it's quite similar to the final door. Except the difference between the final door and the portals is that the final door needs a certain amount of keys. Speaking of keys, you actually collect these throughout the game. They each come in 5. If you have too little keys, you'll be locked in. And if you have too much keys, you'll also get locked in. The final boss. Back then when I actually was game testing this, I always make it a habit to kill all the wizards. It was very difficult, seeing how the wizards are having their ammo basically always following you wherever you go, or at least the last position you were in. So basically moving around their movement is how I usually play it. But I just found a new way to play, to actually finish it. Kill several of them and just get to the goal. Yeah, it's kind of simple. So, as always, I'd like to thank you for checking in.